I'll be showing you some cool tricks that you can use to iterate really fast things in Blender. Basically, hallways, corridors, buildings, by just creating very little assets. So with a default cube, I'm just going to create a simple floor tile. It'll be easier if everything's the same size, so I'll enable snapping up here, increment, and absolute grid snap. Now what that does, if we go in here to the front view and take a look, actually, let's just do cast. You can see what I'm doing here. So numpad 1, front view. Now when I move, you can see it snaps on the grid perfectly. This way it keeps scale consistent. So scale is super important. So what I'm going to end up doing is creating, let's just say this is a person height. We can always keep that there. Perfect. So we have like a little floor tile here. That's, let's say, 2 by 2. We can then go into edit mode, split it up a bit. We can use as divisions and build up a little wall this way. Now I'll be moving pretty fast here because I'm just going to show you theories behind it. It's pretty fun, and hopefully you can play with this in your own work. So I'm just going to extrude up a little wall here, and let's just bend these things forward here, just to create some visual interest. Scale this a bit inward, a bit like a corridor. That's pretty cool. Let's do maybe some different grooves up and down here. Let's do these. And since it's still snipped in like this, it's gonna be trying to grab it like perfectly here. We're gonna have it like that. Nice little hallway there. Perfect. So once this modular thing is done, you can just copy it over as one little thing here. So we've built our first modular wall, per se. We can also add more iteration this way, where, you know, we can add this, and now created some sort of window here. So hopefully this is giving you an idea of like how you can just use one asset and then multiply it over and over again. Alright, so let's just say you have this corridor completely done. It looks gorgeous. You have a bunch of assets here. You can go ahead and into the add modifier tool. Go into array, you can see it starts. Let's move our little plane friend here. It starts adding in a second set here, and it's almost like it's mirroring it. So let's say if I add 5, it stacks it this way onto, this is the red, we can look up here, that's the x-axis, which we take a look here, relative offset, 1. We do that in half, I'll move it halfway. So we can start playing around with this a bit. Now this is, the length of this is dictated by the length of how wide this object is here. So if I do 1, it'll be right up against it. The difference between this and constant offset is this is actually the meters. So 1 isn't really, it's 1 meter as opposed to 1 length of the object. So both of these have their benefits, both of them have different effects. It just depends which one suits the project more. And you can mix both. So I'm just going to stick with 1 here. I'm going to do 0 and 1. And behold, we have a corridor. That's one way to do the assets, only with a single plane. So if I hide this is all we have, but we're extruding it along the y-axis. That's pretty neat. We can do it as long as possible, 15. This value can keep changing. Cool. Now, if we have some more fun, let's add a mirror modifier. Take a look here, mirror modifier. Now, it's on the x-axis. So it's actually flipped on this side. But if we do it up, and we flip it, you see we'll have this like interesting shape here. And it's kind of moved down, or we can change the origin position. I tend to like to move it down this way, because now we have this corner here. Bisect means like it cuts it in half, and then we can flip it. it's kind of hard to see. But basically, oh, you know what? Let's just do with a cube here. I'm inside. Let's go back here. So, what is happening when the mirror modifier? So, you can see if we don't bisect it, it's not merging. It's gonna be merged as a single plane. If you bisect like this, it cuts it in half. It's just something to consider when you're applying the modifiers. Let's just delete that, go back here, and we want clipping, so everything's all clipped, perfect. Take a look at this. Super fast corridor. That's pretty wild. Move this up. And now, if we add a path, let's find a path here. It's sometimes right in front of it's a curve. It's kind of tricky with the different terminologies. So we're gonna tell this object to follow wherever this path goes, even if it takes into account the curves. When we hide these, add in a curve, and tell it to follow this, watch what happens when I start rotating. That is amazing. And it moves up and down. And all I'm doing is just, if we go back here and we hide all of this is all we have. That's it. We can start modeling really complex shapes this way. It also matters the amount of faces and polygons we have. So you can see here it's starting to be very choppy. We can smooth this out by going in here and adding a subdivision surface. And maybe multi-res. We'll have to do like proper subdividing for it to be there. The curve out. That's something that we have to curve out through here. Like that. You can see it's a bit smoother. Of course, there's many methods. This is just one kind of fun thing. Now we have a fun corridor we can walk through. And all it is just a single thing here. So, what can we do? What other interesting things can we do? Well, if we go into curve and add a circle and tell this circle, whoop, we have this really interesting thing here. Now, the reason why it's doing that is because of the directional axis, the way it's following it around. So we just gotta find the right one. Negative y. So now, we go inside. Look at that. And of course, we can start changing how wide a little circle is. But notice, like, it's a set amount. The reason for that is because the array is set to a fixed amount. But if you're going to fit the curve and we dictate to fit this, it's going to always adjust itself to fit the right amount. Of course, there'll be some distortions near the end. And we can also manipulate this circle. We go into here, resolution is 12. Watch. Pretty wild. Well, it's just a little thing I wanted to show you guys. Where you can make like a fun little quick corridor scene. Start adding lights inside. You can have your camera in here. You can do a little roulette. Once we texture this thing here, that should be pretty fun. And we should be pretty set. We can also double up on the amount of arrays we have, stacking it. So we have all of this. What happens if we add another array and go up onto the z-axis? Well, now we're starting to build a little building here. We can have 5 from here. Now it may not look like much because we're not inside and seeing what it's like, but if we hide everything and let's just say we alter something in here, it's going to completely change the silhouette of the shape outside. Let's just do something really quick here just to demonstrate. So let's just say I move this out like this. And I apply this. Now look at that. You can have a lot of fun this way too. So let's just say I select this, move this out one, move it around. We're getting really complex form with minimal effort. You can start actually going in, deciding all of this stuff. You can make this kind of pointy. You can start stretching it out this way. There's going to be some distortions due to the fact that this is fitting a curve, and this just needs to be a little bit wider. So once we're getting small, it's trying to fit the curve, so it's stretching the mesh itself exponentially. But we can get like more or less the right amount like this. And yeah, that's all I wanted to show you. Hopefully, learning the way these mod stacks are, you can start making really cool, complex forms. Alright, hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.